Here was that the reality was starting to match the hype. In other words, you hear a lot of stories out there and a lot of it's hype. But here Jimmy Song had a good chance to contrast 7 months ago to today, and he saw genuine growth. He saw genuine organic growth. He saw things happening. He saw lots of stuff happening. And I think he's now firmly in the camp of a El Salvador believer, like so many people are, who come and see what's actually going on. And so I think we'll see a lot more of Jimmy Song. And he brings with him something incredible, and that's the ability to train up from scratch bright young talent to become Bitcoin developers and to go from and get those Bitcoin development jobs that are incredibly high paying. Right, so waning authority, waning power.
Waning trust.
It sounds like Wayne's World.
But, exactly.
So a third of the population is thinking of taking up arms against the government. So, you know, this falls in under the category or the heading of what we've been talking about for years thematically, global insurrection against banker occupation. So when we see, you know, it started really during the time of Occupy Wall Street, which was really the first time we've seen the activist community focus on Wall Street, you know, because it's usually focused at different areas of the economy, but that was the first time it was really focused on where the money is printed. And so that spread out. We had, of course, the Arab Spring, and we've had really insurrections and uprisings around the world. And so now it's come home, you know, for those who live there, to the United States, and we're seeing that same kind of mentality of the rising inflation's causing economic duress, total loss of trust in government, total loss of trust in the media. And this is all contributing to a toxic stew of social unrest. And so this is a global phenomenon, and it all has its roots going back to the same source, which is that you've got folks who are able to simply buy stuff by printing their own money. Right, well, a perfect example of this would be in the US, the medical industry, which over the past 20 years, you don't see really a meaningful increase in doctors, but you see an unbelievable exponential increase in administrators. And this is by increasing the number of middlemen. So you take all those future income of medical needs, you package it as a bond, you sell it on Wall Street, and you go hire more administrators who then repackage and sell it to other pension funds who then hire more administrators. And the result is a healthcare system that is in shambles, and the life expectancy in America is going down. Okay, that should be a primary metric to say, is my health system in my country working? Is my health expectancy rising? Well, in the US, you'd have to say, no. That's an experience we've seen repeated all the time. And to your point about these reintroduction of intermediaries really diluting the integrity of our economy, it's also true in the ability to communicate information. As you were saying, the barbed wire is wrapped around all the channels of communication and all the channels of the media. And what happens is you end up in a situation where every single piece of information coming out of communication networks and media networks is perceived to be nonsense. To get you on and talk to you because things are happening here. You are a Salvadoran Bitcoiner who is living in Switzerland doing private equity when you saw two gringos, Max and Stacy, living the Bitcoin life here in El Salvador, your home country, which made you green with envy, apparently.
Absolutely.
And now you're back and you're building stuff. Does that about sum it up? Hey, you win. You win the prize. Very good.
I am Salvadoran.
All right. So now describe where El Salvador was and where you feel it's going. Like, how has the mindset changed during you're a young guy, so you've seen this whole thing develop. In terms of how you frame what is possible, President Bukele once said, don't let anyone tell you that El Salvador is too small to be big. Does that resonate? You have the largest Bitcoin mining operation in Europe, and now you want to build here in El Salvador as well. Together, we're working on a solar mining project in northern El Salvador, near to the border with Honduras. Can you tell us about that and why solar? Electric.
Photovoltaic, yeah.
Okay, so now you're very passionate about mining Bitcoin in El Salvador as a matter of national security and national sovereignty. So now this takes it a little bit to a different kind of consideration and a different level. Can you kind of elaborate on this? Right, so as a private equity investor and as an investor, the way you make returns is you've got to find overlooked situations with some really good upside. And it seems like your view of where El Salvador is right now in the international investing community is starting to resonate with other hedge funds and other private equity groups. They're beginning to understand now that this is really a country whose GDP that's currently, let's call it 30 billion, can get to 60 billion in the near future. Really, when you add in the boom in tourism, all the investment that you're bringing in and people are bringing in for mining. When you talk about just like the infrastructure build out, the president's got roads going here, he's doing the bridges, the tunnels, everything that in the US is collapsing. They're actually building here in El Salvador. So this really is a hidden gem in terms of the global investment scene, I would think. Right. So let's talk about these new securities laws that they're in the works, they're coming, and it will put kind of El Salvador in a new place as well in terms of having securities laws that really are built on top of Bitcoin and everything that comes with Bitcoin. And is it possible that El Salvador could become like a Singapore or a real financial hub with these new laws in place and with everything that's going on with Bitcoin? Bitcoin mining for a second, because whenever I see you, you're usually talking about Bitcoin mining. It's a real passion for you. You love, the miners. You showed us a miner that you had just purchased, and you were plugging it in. And so, what is the potential for geothermal energy? Because I know that in Iceland, many years ago when I visited Iceland, they were just using geothermal to mine Bitcoin, and they did incredibly well with that. Is it similar? Is it on that scale? Really coming in and making the case for solar and hydro?
Well,
I visited the facility.
Yeah, exactly.
And you open up the container, and there's all the S9s buzzing away and mining Bitcoin. And or 1.8 cents per kilowatt. You think you can get under that?
I'm pretty confident.
Ultimately, that's what's going to power your big success. I mean, you're a guy that would be successful in almost any environment, and you're looking at this and seeing all the variables, and you're saying, this is where I'm going to make my bones. This is where I'm going to make my future right here. And you're putting all the pieces together. And so anyway, hopefully we can check back in. I know you're a busy guy. Every time I talk to you, you're in somewhere else in the world doing deals. So, but we're happy to have you on. Thanks for being on.
Thanks for having me, Max. Always great.
All righty. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of the Max and Stacy Report. I want to thank our special guest, Josue Lopez. Until next time,